The first raid in the Excidium and Wyvern series, the Immolation raid, is over, and I want to go through how I did, how everyone on the leaderboard did, talk about the prizes that you should get, which officers are best for the Wyvern Dreadnought, go over some build updates, and talk about my upgrade and build plans for the next raid. Hey everyone, Derpy here, and welcome back to another Battle Pirates video. The first thing that I think would be most interesting is going over the builds that I used towards the end of the raid. I did make a few updates and refits and additions with the tokens from the start of the raid towards the end, so these looked a little bit different in my second round of videos on the two targets I did more videos for than the first four. But here is the Wyvern build I used at the end of the raid. As you can see, I don't have all of the Frostfire throwers unlocked to the full potential, still a lot of relatively common ones. I am intending on redeeming some prizes later in the video, so stick around for that one. I also only have 3 D5 EV armor slots actually filled out here. Putting on more D5 EV armors will help in the shockwave reduction. I am still getting shockwaves with this ship and a Sea Serpent's crew, which means I don't have enough evade on the fleet. Also, I'm only 72% ranked because I was too lazy to redeem the last VXP token to get me from 100k to 125 or whatever K. In terms of CIC, I do have one on here right now. This is the rare CIC, which means I got decently lucky, but nowhere near as lucky as I got when the 4th chest I opened contained the captain for the Wyvern, which, by the way, can only go in slot 1. I'll discuss which captains are the best, which officers are the best to use on this fleet in just a moment here. And the second one was I got 3 of the 1-star navigation officers giving an evade bonus, which I did combine using the fusion factory into a silver officer. I don't know if I'm going to be keeping him around though. There is a better one than him for a second tier in my opinion. But we'll open up some more chests and see what we get. That is the Wyvern. In terms of the build changes and updates, no changes to the build other than continuing to build it out more, add on more armors, rank it up in VXP by hitting half a target or something, and then adding on more weapons. Generally very happy with the build I'm using, and I will continue to put on more CICs as I unlock those at E6 through E10, which we do expect to come out on the same pattern they have for the previous tiers. The more interesting question is the Excidium fleet, which I only have 4 of. The flagship just started upgrading. I'd recommend people do the same here. I'm not intending to use it in TLCs and stuff, and I should be able to get it to X1 by strike. Okay, I have 2 countermeasure ships right now, which are these 2 on either side here, and 1 damage ship. Obviously, you should focus your legendary weapons and stuff like that onto the ship that has the damage specials because they have increased damage in the target. So, like, that's what I'm intending to do here. Here's a view where you can see all the specials and stuff. I do have 2 more armor slots, which will unlock at U3, which I've got, but not on all 4 ships, so I don't have it equipped, and X1. Again, I intend to put D5 EV in these spots to help with evade on any torpedoes that happen to get through, but more importantly, combat speed to help avoid the damage from the Pathfinder. I did have someone comment, I thought it was interesting if there's any benefit to swapping out 1 or 2 of these rockets for siege mortars. I don't think I'm going to do that because it might mess with the range of the fleet, and also is quite a bit of firepower to give up to have a 7 to 10% combat speed boost. So it's a useful idea, but I don't think I'm going to do it, especially because I could use a Silent Hunter's crew, put on more D5 EV, and I guess I still need to build ship number 5. So that's the plan for the Excidiums until Cap comes out. It's sticking with the same build and continuing to upgrade these guys and get better weapons and stuff on, maxing out the damage ships first. Now, I did mention I have 2 countermeasure and 2 damage ships because the flag, which is currently, like I said, upgrading, is built as a damage ship. And I'm kind of conflicted on if I want to build the 5th ship as a damage ship or a countermeasure ship. I did make a video going through this, hitting the 101, trying to play around with some of this stuff, and I think that if I drive very well, I don't need any more countermeasures, and I could use more damage to kill the Pathfinders more quickly. but the kind of, I guess, devil in my ear is saying that, well, I'll put on more D5 EVs, I'll be able to outrun all the Pathfinders, I'll add a new ship, which will have at least 4 to 6 weapons on it anyway, even if it doesn't have all 10, I'll still be doing more damage to those things, so when I auto-targets, I might as well use more antis. And I think that voice is going to win out over the angel that says that, yes, you're going to drive every target and are never going to make a mistake and are going to do everything really, really well. I don't think that's as realistic as the fact that I'm going to auto the 100s when they're around, or the 102s when they're around, or the 104s when they're around. So that's where I'm leaning right now, but I'd be curious to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. Are you going with 2, 3, or something completely different in terms of countermeasure ships for the Excidium? I'm also going to upgrade these guys to X1 and probably save some tokens and stuff for Cap when that does come out, because we will be getting Cap in the next raid, and we'll have to get the cores rather than the kits to get this up to Cap here. I intend to not redeem any upgrade kits this raid and get the things that I need for my ship I have not built yet from the TLC when it comes around in a few weeks. So there's the build updates for those guys. I'm pretty happy with my build, as I quite frankly usually am. It seemed to have worked out quite well this raid. Okay, now what I want to do before I go into talking about the officers and captains and stuff is redeem a few prizes, because there's a few that you might miss, and I have 45 million points right now. I do want to take a quick moment to check how I did in general. You can see that on the leaderboard I have 786th place with 108 million points. I do want to check how this compares to my historical performance, which is kind of shown on screen here. In the past, I've captured some of my alt performance. I haven't recorded those the past few raids, and actually have not done a raid recap video the past few raids, so if you like this stuff, go ahead and let me know in the comment section down below. What you're seeing here is that I got 108 million points in place 700th, which means that the size of this bubble, being a little bit smaller, so I got fewer points than some of these bubbles back here, checks out because it's higher up and I didn't place quite as well. Overall, it seems like the state of the game is generally stable for the top, say, 1 to 2,000 players. I got fewer points than I have in the past, and I didn't place quite as low, which is, you know, good. Placing low is good, as I have in the past. So there's my quick math for you, chart visualization type thing. Okay, jumping back to the prizes I need to redeem with my 45 million extra points, which honestly is quite a lot. The first thing I'm going to do is go down to the Dreadnought section and get the CIC enhancement chests for the Wyvern, because there are not very many of these things available, and I'm not quite sure what the cap is and what I can fuse things into. Okay, let's go ahead and get one more set of tokens first, actually. I do wish they would get like an easier way to search some of this stuff. I'm going to redeem 5 Excidium upgrade tokens. Unfortunately, since U3 to X1 is 5 days and 18 hours, it means it's going to take longer than these 5 to get one ship upgraded, which is why I didn't do this during the raid. But I'm going to redeem 5 of these guys and either use them before the TLC comes around or save them for Cap and go into Cap coming out in raid number 2 with a full inventory of 10 Excidium tokens. I did already redeem the Wyvern and the flagship evolution tokens, otherwise I would do that already. Those should show up in the featured, but the ones I just redeemed, the Excidiums, did not, so some people might not know about them. If I really wanted to, I could redeem some Arc Excidium build tokens in case I wanted to make any changes, which I will when I add armors, but I don't think these will be worth it compared to using just Forsaken Mission tokens, which I tend to have extras of between raids 1 and 2 anyway. Now, the other thing I want to make sure that everyone redeems is all 210, because you need all of those to get to U3X1 for the Arc Excidium. Make sure you redeem all of those guys there. And again, I have not redeemed any Excidium tokens because I intend to get a whole bunch from the TLC that comes out in a few weeks. Now, the next thing I want to do, and the kind of only prizes and stuff that I have left to get, would be weapons for the Dreadnought, which tend to be relatively rare. If we scroll down past those guys and look at the Frostfire Thrower, I have redeemed 2 of these already. I could max this out and redeem all of them, but I wouldn't have a lot of points left. Or I could try and get weapons and such for the standard skirmish ship, the Excidium, and ignoring all of this other stuff right here. The Havoc rocket is what I could do, or I could do some of the heavies if I really wanted to do that one. But before I do either of those, I do want to get crew chests because these tend to be a little bit more limited. Now, if I open up 2 gold crews with the next 2 chests, that will be everything I want to redeem. And before I start opening these up, let's actually go ahead and talk about which officers are the best so you can see how lucky I get with some of this stuff. In terms of the best officers, the captain, as it always is the best one. Note that this can only go in the first slot, not slots 2 or 3. An uncommon captain is probably better than a silver or maybe even a gold of the normal ones. So you want to make sure you use this guy if you have it. And as you can see, I happened to get lucky enough to get the gold Captain Lucan, which again is really, really nice. The radioactive damage bonus, evade bonus, combat speed radioactive, all of those are very, very good stats. Use this guy if you get any level of him. Now, the other 3 give various forms of survival bonuses, which 175k survival is not that much for the Wyvern. In terms of the quick math, if you have a Wyvern with no armor and just 2.6 million, and you add 170k, that's about a 6% reduction in damage taken, which is not nothing. I'll take 6% less damage, but it might not be worth it to say 10% evade that stops you from getting shockwave regardless. And the same thing, if you have all armors on here and no D5 EV, you still get a 4.5% reduction in damage taken. Again, 4 or 5% damage reduction is great, but maybe not as good as 10% evade. Even at the legendary rank, I don't think that the survival guy, the science officer, this does not seem worth it to me. By the way, some of these things are seeming like AI in terms of the faces. I'm not sure how I feel about that. Navigation Officer, and I kind of foreshadowed this one, gives you up to 10% evade, as well as some turn speed bonuses. If you get this guy, he's probably your second or third. He's in the top 3 options for me, just because of the pure damage from the shockwaves of the radioactive turrets in these targets. I would use this guy in my top 3. And then the last one here, which looks even more like AI to me, maybe that's me imagining things, the Munitions Officer Rhea, which is Mother Earth. Anyway, this gives you more damage, which is nice, but not necessary for the Wyvern. I think if this makes the difference between killing a turret cluster in one volley or multiple, this one will be nice to use, and I have a suspicion this is the case, so this is in my top 3, it's probably my number 2. So my ranking of what I would use is number 1, the Captain Lucas. Number 2 is the whichever level you have higher of the Munitions Officer Rhea for radioactive damage, or the evade one, the Navigation Officer. And number 3 would be the flip-flop, either whichever one you don't use at number 2, use at number 3. Number 3's slot does not exist yet, but it will by the time we get into raids 2 and 3. Let me know what you think about these officers in my analysis, basically skipping the survival one and saying that's the least good one. Okay, back to the game and opening our chests. Let's go ahead and open up the CIC chests and see what we get. Looks like it was 2 uncommons, which is not great. Keep in mind you can fuse these into better ones using your fusion factory. I'm not quite sure if we'll get enough claims though to make sure everyone gets all legendary if they redeem every single option. And then here's some more event points, whatever. Okay, here's the officer enhancement chest. Open 2 of these up because I could get really lucky and get 2 more gold crews. I didn't. I got a rare and an uncommon, so this rare munitions officer is probably an upgrade over the one I have on right now, but was not worth spending the points earlier in the raid. We didn't get 2 gold, so let's go ahead and open up 2 more. We probably could just get 4 at once here, but maybe we get lucky. And oh, look at that. Navigation Officer Dax and Captain Lucan. Doesn't matter, I already have another version of him. So the Navigation Officer would be what I would put on right now, because I do have, he's a 3-star one for 10% evade versus my 2-star one that I have on currently. And the 3-star navigation is probably better than the 2-star Rhea. Okay, we could get lucky and get a 3-star layout on our last opening, so let's go ahead and open one chest at a time here and see what we get. Looks like a 1-star of the crappy officer. That's cool. Last chest, and we'll see if I have to redeem any chests at all next raid. It would be really nice to need 40 million points fewer as I go into next raid. And looks like a 1-star captain of the thing I already have multiple of. So I will be needing to open some chests next raid, and until I get more of some of the stuff. I wish this kind of displayed differently. Until I get more to get let's see, fuse everyone into the 3-star version of the munitions officer here and get the 10% radioactive damage instead of the 2%. Keep in mind, if you do have a bunch of uncommons, you could fuse 3 of these together to get enough 2-stars to fuse enough 2-stars together to get enough of the 3-stars. Great. Well, that's enough with the officers, and we could look at CICs and see if we can fuse anything. Looks like we can't. I don't have enough of the 2-stars to fuse into 3s. Don't have enough of the 3s to fuse into legendary for sure. So I hope they offer more claims for this one, or otherwise make it easier to get up to the legendary, because the epic doesn't even do enough for me. And you need 3 of these on the fleet, so if you have 3 epics, you probably don't want to fuse them. You probably want to use those 3 because you have 3 CIC slots. Okay. Now let's see what we can do for our last 7 million points, which quite frankly is not very much. And this is going to be probably looking at the heavies, and well, that's been in the Forsaken mission. So I think I'm going to look at the skirmish tab and get some standard rockets right here for the Havoc. Just max those guys out there, get 4 of these and refit those on. That will make my ships for sure better, because even this slight increase over the standard blueprint weapon will be pretty helpful. And there's the raid, 45 million points, about half my raid's prizes gone in a few minutes. Cool. Let's go ahead and see if I've got anything else for you to go through today. I went through most of the stuff that I had on my list, and the officers, which one was best, the build updates, which were relatively minor, and the changes and stuff I'm making for my fleet's next raid, which was basically continuing to build those guys out and get some more stuff. I also threw in some raid prize advice and some what to get stuff. If you are a returning player, focus on the current/new content. Don't worry about building any of the old tier stuff, only build the new things. Like, don't worry about the Nocturne, don't worry about the Snapjaw, only worry about the new stuff. The last thing was the targets and stuff like that. As you can see, I got 108 million points. The target set is worth about 5 million, so I did, let's see, I think I got about 34 or more sets done, maybe up to 40 sets done. That seems to check out with the map there. I did auto the 100 and 1200 for most times, if not every time after my video on that one. But I did have to drive the 101. I didn't test autoing this one. I did test auto the 1201, and it basically killed my fleet, 75% dead of my Wyvern. So I drove those 2 targets. To be honest, I got the path down on the 1201 to be a systematic, snappy enough one that it was pretty quick to drive, especially with the upgraded E5 ship compared to the E2 or 3 ship I started the raid with. The damage was much, much, much higher that I could do to the turrets, so the time to kill was pretty low. And the Excidiums, being a very fast skirmish hull, means that the 101 was very easy to do quickly, maybe not low repair every time, to an hour or so of damage if you bull rush the target, which maybe is another reason I want to use 3 countermeasure ships versus 3 damage ships, is because I like bull rushing these things sometimes. You could zip around, hit all the citadels, hit the gambit, trigger all the incoming marauders at you kind of in waves, but so that you weren't waiting around till the end of the target to kill everything. Generally, these targets were pretty fun to drive, even after doing 34 or more of these sets. I do wish I had the option to auto the 100 and I guess the 101 and the 1200 if I wanted to, because I couldn't quite close the gap in terms of opening enough chests and stuff from the raid to get the correct amount of refit tokens and stuff like that. So that's my thoughts on the raid target. Overall, they seem decent. The time to kill was low. The Excidium, its flagship ability, which looks slightly phallic by the way, made it very quick to complete the targets, which I enjoyed. Okay, if you have any questions, go ahead and let me know in the comment section down below, and I'll do my best to get back to you. But I want to give a huge thank you to the channel members whose names appear on the end screen now. They're helping make videos like this one possible. With that said, and until next time, this is Derpy signing out, helping you be a better pirate.